Hello everyone, welcome to GS Core. So in our series of the coverage of daily current affairs through MCQs, we are going to look at 5 multiple choice questions based on today's current affairs. Let's have a look at the topics that we are going to touch upon today through the questions. The e-courts mission mode project. Recently, the Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, was giving a lecture, right, and he mentioned about the digital transformation. And this brings to fore the idea of e-courts. Remember, the e-governance or e-interventions across the space are important. That is, executive, legislature, and judiciary. While more often than not, you look at questions related to executive and topics related to executive, it is very pertinent that the judicial and the legislative sides should also be covered. For example, e-courts, SUPACE, etc. and legislative sides like e-Vidhan. All right. The next is about the models and the manufacturing of the solar photovoltaic modules requirement of compulsory registration order. Well, the EV space is expanding, and so does the space for the photovoltaic cells, or in common parlance, if I say solar cells. Allotment, investments are coming up, right? And recently, with the new financial year, this particular policy has now come into effect, right? And hence it is important. Next is about the Sela tunnel. Multiple infrastructure projects, especially along the line of actual control, have gained salience in overall India's, India's overall strategic calculus, but also they are being highlighted as pillars of development, and hence the location and significance becomes important. The next is about our very own homegrown fighter aircraft, that is the light combat aircraft Tejas. Recently, Mark 1A variant, which is an improved variant over Mark 1, took its first flight, which lasted for about 15 minutes or so, and hence this aircraft is in news. The last but not the least, the olive Ridley turtles. Recently, the Tamil Nadu government is actually running multiple programs, and they were in news, and hence the species olive Ridley turtles become important. Similarly, you see other species like the great Indian bustard, right? All of these species which are often in news are important. So let's jump to the questions. E-courts mission mode project. With regards to news, I already talked about that the CGI delivered a lecture and where he talked about the importance of the digital technology. So when we look at these questions, the concept at the core is the justice delivery and how to bring about ease of justice through e-governance, thereby bridging the gaps of accessibility, affordability, efficiency and effectiveness, transparency and accountability, reliability, viability. All those things become important. So whenever we look at such questions, skills and approach that is needed, because they are highly scheme or objective based, we need mapping. I always talk about this mapping, the dependencies, the stakeholders, features, etc. And the skills which are needed, first is the retention, and next is the interlinking and application. So while approaching, first verify the facts and then deduce the interlinkages. So let's look at the question. Now if I see the question, I see the format. How many? So as I say, it's a vague format. So elimination cannot be used. Let us see these statements. The project aims to provide both hardware and software applications to enable courts to deliver e-services. That is correct. That is correct. Hardware in the sense equipping the courtrooms with the necessary infrastructure to be able to be ramped up on the e-courts, and hence this is the sticky point. So if you do not know this concept, then you are likely to take the bait and mark the wrong option. It's a pan-India project monitored and funded by the Department of Justice. Again, the stakeholder map, which are the departments, the stakeholders involved. That is correct. National Judicial Data Grid consists of all the data of cases only in high courts and subordinate courts. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. It takes up the cases from the district court to the SC level, and it is part of the phase 2 of the National Judicial Data Grid. So out of the 3, we see 2 statements are correct. Hence the option to mark would be option B. Option B. Moving on. Models and manufacturers of solar photovoltaic modules, requirement of compulsory registration order. Right. So I talked about already that why it was in news. Right. It requires the module makers to submit to an inspection of their manufacturing facility by National Institute of Solar Energy. Right. And it has come into effect from the 1st of April 2024 with the onset of the new financial year. So the concept as such with regards to this is not what the solar voltaic panels do. Here, if you look at the concept, is the regulation of the space. And what is allowed and what is not allowed. So largely it is going to be fact when I talk about the skill, whether this is allowed or not allowed. So retention is almost critical. With regards to approach, always such a question, the approach is pretty simple, that you verify the facts and you see the statements. Now the twist comes from this part. If you look at the format, it's a standard format, but the operative keyword here is incorrect, right? So definitely we can use the elimination. Okay. So now let us examine the statements. Under this, the government has ordered to enlist manufacturers of solar photovoltaic cells and modules complying with the BIS standards. That is true. So the regulation, what are these standards? Agencies involved. Only the models and manufacturers included in the list will be eligible for projects under government schemes and related to solar cells. That is also correct. Since both the statements are correct, therefore the option to mark would be option D. Option D. Next, Sela tunnel project. So this was in news, right? And the news is the answer. It was in Arunachal Pradesh. Also, if you look at following the news, China has been giving new names to places in Arunachal Pradesh, claiming the area, and consistent rebuttals are being put out by the Ministry of External Affairs at the highest levels, including the Minister Dr. S. Jankar himself. So it's again the approach and the skill here is a no-brainer, that it is retention and it's a fact check. It's basically the location mapping. So all such projects, if you map it on a political map, they will help you to be retained. So the tunnel project is in Arunachal Pradesh, and the locations are critical. So you have projects being run in Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, the border infrastructure development, vibrant villages program, all those things are coming up. So the plotting on map becomes essential because a simple question like this on location can be asked. Moving on to the next question, and it is about the light combat aircraft Tejas, and if you see, it is statement 1 explains statement 2 kind of a format. With regards to news, I told you that Mark 1A variant recently took to skies, right? As such concept with regards to defense, largely it is the fact what was before, what is after, right? And you need to examine the facts. So retention plus stakeholder map. Which are the agencies? For example, Aeronautical Development Agency, DRDO, right? HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, these are involved. So largely you will see things moving around, right, regarding this. Also the features. For example, it's a 4th generation aircraft, so on and so forth. So let us read the question. Statement 1. Tejas is a 4th generation fighter aircraft. So it's a fighter aircraft. It's not a transport aircraft. Indigenously developed in the country. True. Tejas has been indigenously designed and developed by DRDO. DRDO. Right. If you look at this particular statement, this is correct. Aeronautical Development Agency, DRDO. So both the statements are correct in this case. Now, does this explain this? I mean, this statement is a fact. There necessarily might not be an explanation always. So in this case, option B is the most appropriate, where statement 1 and 2 are correct, but it's not the correct explanation. It does not sort of explain the reasoning behind statement A. So a critical skill which is needed here is the deduction and application, not because of the statement, but because of the nature of the format, that whether it applies to this or not, whether it is the implication of this or not. So like I said, in this case, the option to mark would be option B. Option B. Next. Olive Ridley turtle. So regarding species, always it is the location. I told you the news, it is regarding Tamil Nadu government's policies and programs. So location becomes important. Habitat, right, status, especially with regards to IUCN, etc., and characteristics. The skills and approach that is needed is always to fact check, that is retention and deduction. Now let us have a look at the statements that we have. These are the smallest and the most abundant of all the sea turtles found in the world. That is correct. That is correct. Next, the grouping of male turtles in the sea is called Aribada. This is incorrect. It is rather the females which are called as Aribada. Statement 3, they are mainly herbivores. No, they are omnivores. So out of the 3, 2 are incorrect, 1 is correct. It is again a how many sort of a question. Therefore, you cannot use elimination. You will have to go by the facts. Only 1 is correct. Hence, the answer is option A. Option A. Just like I told you with regards to olive Ridley turtles, there can be great Indian bustard. This is again one of the most famous, one of the most favorite, of the UPSC. It has been asked time and again. So do keep a look at the patterns through the help of the PYQs, right? So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. you'll find more information on the subjects, on the topics that we touched upon today, as well as more in our daily current affairs compilation, right? The link for which is in the description. That's all. Thank you.